Well, hello everyone. Here to show you the carrying case secret coloring activity right here. As you see right here is I went ahead and drew an example right here. You say of a carrying case, and then of course right here is like a picture diagram. It's like most for what I do, of course, it's like picture diagrams. But then of course is talking about is explaining after I draw them. Of course, is about what's shown right here is that you have right here is the handlebar. I'm sure. Yeah, the handle, I guess you say the handle strap right here, and then knowing about that, I don't even have one, so that's why it's like talking about, it's like if I were to actually draw it and talk about it. But anyway, that you have the strap, and of course you got right here's the lockup brackets. It is say for that security lock it is, and then right here is you have right here, as you see right here, is I went ahead and add like which is a pocket. It's like a pocket compartment, and if anybody were to use a have if their uncle or parents whoever has had experience using like what you call like a carrying case such as a luggage carrier or a briefcase or anything like that, that more likely that if I think about you may have seen them before, that you have a carrying case like this right here, to where that if you were to go shopping for them online or in the store or wherever, that more likely that you're going to have like what you call like a variety of sizes and choices it is, and with quite a few of them that you have the extra space right here. It's like talking about you can even buy them, of course, with the wheels on the bottom, and it's like maybe with an extra handlebar on the side it is. And knowing about if you were to have one of these, and knowing about it's like what you call is like a people probably thinking about it's like they talk about for the secret, the secret about the carrying case it is. And knowing about that if you were to have a carrying case it is knowing about keep some of your belongings in, and especially if you'll be working for any type of a company or business as it is. I guess people probably thinking about that is it made to keep your stuff organized, or to maybe keep it safe, or the fact about that there's something in there that you had to have with you at all time, maybe while you're working it is. But knowing about with me is like, and I would just think about whenever I was drawing this, is coming up with ideas right here is like a zipper. And I'm sure everybody here has used a zipper. It was any type of a protection seal. It's like talking about, that I've used quite a few of them. Even before, even whenever I was in school, I've used binders with zippers, and of course I've used book bags. A lot of book bags, of course, for going back to school, they would have a lot of zippers in them. And to know about keeping your stuff safe it is. You have the zipper, and of course right here you got the buttons right here. It's like I think they call them the fasten lock buttons it is. So you got right here, it's like I say a diagram right here. It's like talking about, it's like with the buttons right here. And anybody will probably think about that they're not that great, because of course they come undone real easily. That a lot of times if you're trying to lock them, then a lot of times that they come undone too. And know about with the zipper that it's pretty fastly locked. It is if you're trying to zip something up, it's like talk about if anybody has there, not really about zip your lips. It's like don't say a word, man. But other than that you have right here is like the buttons right here. With the buttons, if you have like a number of pocket spaces right here, and then of course I would have drew right here is like with magnets, that kind of an example I'll be showing right here, of course, is like that go ahead and show right here, but like a magnet. It's like right here, it's like with the way they say for a magnet, the way it worked, it's like your two I say positive, I think positive and negative is like talking about, it's like if the pocket was locked and sealed, using like what you call like a magnetism type study it is, where they're hold together, say I guess by compounds or anything like that. But anyway, I did studying about magnets back a while back ago, but then of course knowing about, I think it's between positive and negative, where they combine to where that they actually use like what you call like a source of energy inside, say metal and metal contraction, and then they lock together it is. But knowing about, you have right here is the magnets, and then of course the buttons, of course, with the zipper. And anybody will probably thinking about that we had drew like which calls like if there was like if the pocket was full of belongings, it was if it was anything like anybody will probably think about anything that you would maybe want to keep stored in the pockets, it was. And And I'm sure that a lot of times in the airports too, the airports would be checking a lot of stuff right here. It's like with the pockets and knowing about, it's like for how thick it was. It's like if you were to be going into security, it was, and a lot of times they will be checking that. And anybody will probably thinking about that. I want to make sure that there ain't no tear gas or anything that more likely that they say you're not allowed to have. You say with you or on the plane if you're maybe going to a museum or maybe the courthouse or something like that. Then more likely that they say that that's not allowed, to be brought into the room. It was, brought into the building, and knowing about that we have right here is pocket spaces, and a lot of times though that if you were to buy something like this, if you decide to go ahead and you want to go ahead and spend the extra money on a carrying case, is like knowing about if you really need one, and then if you want to keep some of your own belongings in there, and then if you'll be carrying around quite a few people will probably think about that. They probably, if they were to buy one, they keep their laptop. If you have like a laptop or an e-reader or somewhere, maybe some of your credit cards or anything like that you want to keep safe in there, that you would go and buy one and keep it locked, and then carry it with you. And knowing about that a few people I know that have carrying cases, and of course I've seen them, of course, a lot of times in the stores it is. And the whole purpose about it is like, for going back to school is a carrying case that comes with, like, say, a variety of pencils and pens. You got the writing utensils right here. It is. You got the pencil and then the pens right here. And then, of course, it may come with the calculator. And with going back to school season, a lot of times you may see that if you would open up the case, and then it already comes with maybe a variety of tools, a variety like a ruler, or maybe maybe a pack of Kleenexes, whatever it is. But for business reasons, though, that a lot of the carrying cases, anybody will probably thinking about that anything that any like a little device. You say anybody will probably thinking about it's like maybe a little microchip that allows a wireless connection, maybe a GPS. GPS reception or anything like that, maybe for the wireless connection. Anybody who probably thinking about that that more likely that that's not going to be built in. That's not going to be built in. You're going to have to pay extra, like maybe which calls like maybe a standard fee if you want to have that installed or anything like that. But whole purpose about carrying case secret is basically talking about is that with of course with the stores, I remember about a carrying case, and then knowing about the things to help keep your belongings protected. It is, and knowing about anybody will probably think about with the locks. Right here it is knowing about if you knew how to work the locks. It was, and knowing about that because I remember that I had a while back that I had a few belongings of mine, of course, that were lost and stolen. Some of them that were stolen, and knowing about that people would take them, just because maybe that they were valuable items. It was, or it could have been something about that maybe they just considered borrowing it. It's like, and that aggravated me too. That knowing about that, if somebody were to walk when I was in school, if somebody were to be walking by my desk and then they found they saw an eraser, on my desk, and then they didn't bother to ask if it was the teacher's or if it was mine, and they would just take it. And then once or twice, a lot of times I got it back, but then once or twice, a couple times, I never got it back. And a lot of times that really aggravated me is knowing about that whenever kids go to school, it is, on their first day of school, a lot of times that they probably think about that if their parents were to buy them maybe about $15 worth of writing utensils like pens and pencils and maybe crayons, it is, and knowing about that after about 3 months after school has started, and the next thing it's like that they lost them or somebody else took them, whatever it was. But a lot of times that I could probably tell anybody here that with school supplies with me, though, that some of them, quite a few of them, have been that I would bring them to school, and then some of them would not get used. A lot of times, if it was related to maybe a maybe a package of markers. It was, if it was markers, or if it was if the student was responsible for providing maybe notebook paper or anything like that. A lot of times that they would probably think about that they were supposed to bring it, and then if they run out of it, well, sometimes it seems like they're saying that that's your problem, that you lost it, or somebody in the classroom took it, whatever it is. But on here too, they're talking about between lost or stolen or given away items. It is talking about ways to keep it protected. It is. And one of those ways, of course, that if you want to maybe save your money, or maybe thinking about getting something to keep your stuff protected, is maybe like what you call is like a carrying case. And knowing about with me that not a carrying case, but I remember that I bought a file cabinet. My parents bought a file cabinet for me, that and I explained to them that hey, that I like to have a file cabinet to keep my stuff safe and secure. So if I remember right, that in the file cabinet I would keep some of my school papers. Of course, I still had the file cabinet. And then I remember that when after the move, it was after my family and I moved, that I remember that I still had the key to it, and just don't know exactly where the file cabinet is. But knowing about after I got the file cabinet back, then it was like that. Unlocked it, and I remember whenever I unlocked the file cabinet, it was full of a lot of papers. Of course, I had movies in there. Of course, a lot of things I haven't seen in a while, that I had stored in there. And knowing with anybody that if you're going to go out and buy something, that more likely you're probably thinking about that knowing about why something maybe like this, a carrying case, like a briefcase or any type of carrying case for business reasons, is that more likely it's going to be expensive. And knowing about anybody who probably thinking about that, maybe why do people buy them a lot of times, and knowing about that, if they travel a lot, or if they need it, for security, or if they like to have experience, carrying one. A lot of times that they're probably thinking about, maybe go to the library or the airport, just to use it, and then knowing about have all this pocket space right here. With all this pocket space, I would probably say that more likely anybody would probably think about, with all this extra storage right here, with all this extra storage in the pocket space, you're probably thinking about that you have all that pocket space, and then knowing about whatever that you want to keep stored in there. But a lot of times that anybody would probably think about, if there's a pocket, my pocket space, coming up on this corner, or if that, if there's like maybe a little pocket right here, and then a big pocket right there, and then a little pocket right there, anything like that. And knowing about, which I've seen them before, that there's some that they make about the similar thing, for clothes. If you're going to be moving some clothes, something that works by, say, air inflator, it is that where you can pack clothes into, I could say, on a suitcase, if you're going to be packing for traveling business trip or anything like that. But just knowing about that the type of things that maybe you can fit in a briefcase, it is. And anybody who probably thinking about that about almost anything could be put in the briefcase, even a computer, except maybe a car, a vehicle. And more likely that you probably anybody who probably thinking about that it would probably have to be like what you call is like one of those cars that you could move around with a button or whatever. But on your hand to it, knowing about if you were to have a carrying case, it is, and knowing about that quite a few of them that do run in the price, it is. If you were to look at them at the store, it was, and just knowing about that they range between it's range between maybe $50 or $60 or something like that, maybe a little less than that, for like a carrying case, it is. Knowing about that with the carrying case, and knowing about, but on the air too, that what's included with it, that maybe say a ruler or anything like that they say it may come with a few things that maybe you don't have to buy separate, it is. But on the hand too, that knowing about, I would probably think about, like most of them would maybe come with the calculator, built-in calculator, it is. Anything, maybe a boogie board, any type of extra writing paper, it is. I'm sure a lot of parents, going back to school kids will probably think about it. It's like they buy a new book bag, and then maybe it would come with like what you call like maybe you say a drinky fill, drinky cup or anything like that, or maybe it's anything that maybe kids would probably like to use on their first day of school. Like maybe maybe a few sets of erasers, pens, and maybe see a notebook. It's like schedule keeper up or anything like that. And but other than that, it's like talking about what the carrying case secret is talking about. It's like what the secrets talking about. It's like that knowing about that ways to keep your stuff protected. It is. But on the other hand too, that knowing about, but I would not recommend anybody. It's like talk about go through security. You talk about don't even try. The way I think, it's like don't even try to sneak something in, because knowing about that add some extra pocket space right here, and knowing about that because a lot of times that they have at the security that they have it to where that they can actually look inside of the pockets, is most of them, and be able to find out exactly what's in there. But on the other too, that knowing about that that reminds me of a story a while back too, that went to in the courthouse. It was not a briefcase, but apparently that it was a clock. Most of us have probably seen them before, but it was a clock apparently that I was going through security at the courthouse. It was. And knowing about that, it was a low carrying case about like this right here, like a carrying case. But then of course, in the carrying case would be like what you call is like a clock. That there would be like say a clock, which there was nothing in it though. It's like there was nothing in it, but I can remember that I was going through security. It was there at the courthouse. It was, and my family and I, it's like we got delayed for just a little bit, maybe a few seconds it was, and knowing about that the dude would be like, say, it came with the clock, and the clock would come out and be able to tell what time it was. But then of course there was nothing in there, and apparently that I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal going in through security. It was, but apparently that the beeper, if most of us know about what the beeper sounds like when the alarm's going off, at the security, at the security line it is, but it's like beep 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 beep, beep 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 beep, and then it's like that I remember I had it in my coat pocket, and then all of a sudden they said, can you take off your coat? I want to see what's in your pocket, and so what happened was he looked in the coat and found that little that little case, which came with the clock, but then of course there was nothing in it. So it's like at the time I'm like that for whatever reason, I don't know why I had it in my pocket. My best guess is that after the clock had broken off of the inside of there, that I guess I decided to leave it in there. I think it maybe I think it was to use it for something else or something like that. Use it to keep coins, I think, in there. I think I was going to maybe use it for like what you call it's like a coin collecting little carrying case or anything like that. But for whatever reason, and of course, that they thought that maybe that it's like, well, we don't want you sneaking anything in. But on the other hand, too, that knowing about, anybody will probably think about, well, let's just say that if it's my engagement ring, if there's a wedding ring, anything related to anything on your finger that maybe you may take off your finger and then put it in the pocket, and knowing about that, I don't think that will be sitting off the metal detector, but. Well, we all know that I went to airport security before, and that just knowing about that anything metal related, even if it's a pair of glasses, if you got a pair of glasses, you got glasses right here, they say that, please take your glasses off. I'm sure you can still see them with them on or off, but you just can't see very far away, etc., etc. That they, probably want to ask you to remove your keys, and then of course, that if you're going to have you say maybe metal on a pencil, maybe just a little bit of metal on a pencil, it is like you have that on your ear. Well, I'm sorry, sir, madam, you got to take that pencil off and put it down here. And then other than that, like knowing about that with the carrying case too, that more like we could probably all think about if everything that you needed was in a carrying case. And then you go through security, they look at it and find out that yep, it's metal, but then of course you know what it is. Okay, moving on. Other than had a delay, you had to take everything out of your pockets, taking anything that you're wearing that's metal off, and then go into security that way. But other than that, is talking about the ways to keep your stuff safe. But other than that, is talk about the carrying case so far as the secret. Talk about it's like for the story, say the carrying case secret, say coloring activity.